Hussein here for another Affinity Photo tutorial. Now this one follows on quite neatly from the one that we did on selecting objects. So using the selection tools, specifically the selection brush tool, which we looked at initially. Of course, once you've selected an object, let's say this street lamp, on a nice clear blue background, which of course it makes it easy, but it doesn't always, but that's where the refine option comes in. And then what do you do with it when you've selected it? And I'm really going to concentrate on three main areas, because this pretty much encompasses all reasons for why you'd want to select it, certainly most of them. Okay, so we have to duplicate something, so we could select this street lamp, duplicate it so we've got more than one, which we'll do that in a moment. We can remove it completely once we've duplicated it, and then can replace it with the blue sky behind it. And we can of course replace it. We can replace it with a different lamp, or we could put it in another image. And the replacing part we'll do with these two, with this image here, and we'll replace for example that blue sky behind the lamppost with this sunset sky, and see how that works out. So first of all, we need to obviously select this object. So we've got the base background layer here on the right hand side, and I'm going to speed through this fairly quickly. So we want the selection brush. Remember, the size of the brush is critical here. I can't emphasize that. Don't make the brush too big initially, and with this selection brush we are basically painting with it, pushing it to the edges. Don't worry about it not being quite right if it in the first instance, because we're going to refine it, but this should work out reasonably well. Okay, shift key on your keyboard to bring up the move tool. That keyboard shortcut is very useful when you're working with a large canvas area. Okay, save using the scroll bars up and down. I find it's much easier to use the shift key to basically move the canvas up, because you want to be zoomed in reasonably into the image, because you want to be able to fine tune the selection. Okay, so I'm just painting with it, pushing the selection down, and if I get it wrong we can refine it, but this one will work reasonably well. It's better to try with something initially that works reasonably well easily, rather than try something that's difficult, and then once you've honed your skills and you've got a feel for the tools that you're using, then you can try something more complicated. That's certainly the way I find that I learn better. You start with something that's easy and gradually build your skill level up. Okay, so I'm just painting. You see the marching ants are now encompassing the whole image, or almost the whole image now. Okay, so I'm going to Command and 0 on the Mac, or Control and 0 to go full screen, and then I want to click on Refine at the top here, Refine, and that gives you an option to refine the selection where things haven't quite worked out well. So here, for example, you can see that isn't quite worked out, so we just paint over the edge, let it refine that selection, paint over there, that needs refining, and normally just with a couple of strokes like that, it'll basically resample the pixels and give you a better selection normally, but we'll see how it goes. So that's that done, that's that done. Just move over here, come down, and wherever you feel that it needs resampling, you can do that. We've gone through this in the other videos. Now here it hasn't selected these little brackets, a little bit of ironmongery on the lamppost, so we want to make sure that it does that, and just by going over it, normally it does the job reasonably well. There's no reason why you shouldn't go in and fine tune it even further if you wish. Here, just a quick straight line, and it'll just resample the edge there. Just double check over here. Yeah, that's that done. Command and 0 again. Okay, if I'm happy with that, now here, the output that I want, don't forget the overlay, you can either have it as a matte or as a black matte. Sorry, as an overlay, black matte or a white matte, whichever looks best. Overlay tends to be okay in most cases, so it's basically saying that pink area is the bit that you haven't selected, but the one that isn't pink is not the matte, and therefore that is what you have selected. And then do you want the selection in its own layer, or do you want it layer with a mask? But for now we'll just say its own layer. Click apply, and after a few seconds what you'll get is a new layer added at the top, which is your selected and duplicated object that you've selected, which in this case is the street light. So if I just disable this original layer, you can see that that's the duplicate. Okay, if we go to the move tool on the left hand side, click that, and we can see there that we have selected that, and it's now duplicated it because we put it on a new layer. Alternatively, you could just do control and command, control or command C to copy it, and then control or command V to paste it, but this way that saves a step. Okay, so we've duplicated it. So that was the first of the three reasons why you might want to select something, is to duplicate it. You can say, well, okay, I want to duplicate that lamp, put it in the same image, maybe a bit further back, and get the orientation right. So maybe it looks a bit like that. We can position it right down there, reduce the size of it a bit more, and that could be legitimately a lamp further in the distance. Okay, you could obviously fade that back a little bit so that it looks as if it's a little bit in the distance, and adjust its contrast or brightness, and that way it'll look more convincing. Okay, so, and of course we can flip it, we can change the way it's pointing. That could be a lamp on this side of the street, it could be a lamp on another image, it could be all sorts of things. Having something slightly off screen tends to lend itself to more credibility. Okay, so you can do anything like that. Of course, you can remove something. So we've already copied this lamp, and we might say, well, actually the original lamp, going back to the original layer, we want to remove that. Now we've made a copy of it. If I use the in-painting brush, which is very useful, the in-painting is basically an intelligent way of giving the software the opportunity to sample the pixels, and it says, well, if the majority of the pixels are blue, in this case the sky, I will take out whatever's in the middle of it, which is the lamp. And depending on the background, depending on the number of pixels you select and the size of your brush, it can work really well, as this is, or you might need a little bit of trial and error, but it'll work. Okay, it just takes a few seconds for that sampling to occur. So I'm just going to go through quickly to keep this video short and sample. Don't do a big area at once. Do a small area at a time. Get it right, then go and do the next one. Okay. Now, why are we removing this street light? Because possibly it might be a person in an image we want to remove and replace with a different person, or with no person, and just have the background showing through. Because that's what we've done here. We've got the background showing through. And clearly I'd want to go in and tweak this so we don't get that telltale sign of those of the sort of ghosting of the street lamp. And you can do that. just by painting over it a few times. Okay. And once you've removed what you started off with, then you go to the copied one, go to the move tool, and maybe you say, well, actually, I want to position this here. I didn't want to position it over there. I want to bring it here. So now what we've done is we've moved it from where it was to a different part of the image. Okay, so that would be duplicating it and removing an object in a particular image. Okay, the next part is if I take this image back to where it was, so I've got the history at the bottom right here. So if I just move back, that takes us back where we were, because I haven't saved anything yet. I haven't exported the file or saved the file yet. So I can roll back to any position I want in the history palette, which is very useful. So starting from here, in fact, I'm going to start it from, I'm going to select that image again, because I want to select this. If I select the sky this time, okay, because it's the sky I want to replace. So if I just select the sky, increase the size of the brush, okay, so here again we can refine it, same principle. Size of the brush, so we just want to refine that selection. Now the fact that we're selecting the background and not the foreground, it doesn't matter, because the end result is the same, because you can invert your selection if you wish. So I'm just going to check that selection there, that's fine. And we want that selection on a new layer again. Click apply. And now we've got that. Let me just center that. So we've got if I click on the move tool, you can see that we have got the background selected as a separate layer. Okay, not the best selection, but just for the purposes of what we're going to do here is to replace. So if I want to replace that blue sky with that sunset sky, I now want to select this sky and take it across. Now I don't have to be precise here, because I just want to place it behind there. So what I'm going to do in this image, I'm going to just do a selection based on freehand selection. I'm going to use a polygonal selection. So I'm just literally going to draw okay, I'm going to select that, Command and C to copy it. If I go to that image and Command and V to paste it, okay, so we've got this sky. We can increase the size of it, of course, so it covers the whole background. Once I've done that, now what you can see, of course, is that sky's in front of everything. All we do is click that layer and put it in between the other two layers. By putting it in between the other two, or putting it behind, it gives you, the sky goes into a different position. Okay, so we can either have the new sky in between what we'd copied, or behind it. Actually, that would be better if it was done differently. I'm going to just do that again. Okay, I'm going to go through and just do that again. So what we want to do is select, the lamppost again, selecting the foreground I think will work better. It didn't work quite as well doing it the other way, but that won't take long. We can just do this, scroll right in, okay, that's that selected. Again, we're going to refine it, so click refine, and then that one there. So we're okay with that. That's all okay. That's all okay. Here it does have difficulty getting these little areas, but we can refine that. I think we can refine that. Refine that. And this last bit here, refine that. Once that's refined, we can click on selection, new layer, apply. Okay, so we've got the two layers selected, and we've got the lamppost on its own on a separate layer, and we've got the original. So now when we go to that image here, we've got this selected again. We'll do Control and copy, paste it as we did before, Control and V, move that sky across, make it to fill the whole thing. Ooh, just need to move that up a little bit. That's it. Now that it fills the whole layer, image, sorry, all we got to do is move this layer, which is the sky. It needs to sit behind the lamppost but in front of the blue sky. So behind the copied lamppost but in front of the blue sky, and that's blue sky, sunset sky, blue sky, sunset sky. Okay, so very quickly, so we've covered duplicating an object, replacing it, and replacing it, sort of removing it and then replacing it. Okay, so those are applications of when you select an object and want to do something creative with it to change the nature of your image. Okay, thanks for watching, and give it a go and put some comments in the comment box if you want any further assistance, or if you've got your own ideas which work better than this or work differently. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching.